Dear guests and friends from the poultry industry, greetings to everyone. Welcome to 2023 Lachance Global Forum, Healthy Development of Lean Hens Hepatobiliary. I'm the host of the forum, Tracy. This conference focuses on poultry industry's exchange and cooperation of both China and overseas market, sharing the current situation of lean hens health in various markets, as well as experiences and solutions for preventing fatty liver. We are fortunate to have invited industrial experts and partners who will share their experience and insights in the field of poultry industry. Welcome, Dr. Manuji Kumar from India.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Akhtar Razaman from Bangladesh. Professor Chapong from Thailand. Professor Ali Agus from Indonesia. Dr. He Bin and Wu Lei from China. During the conference, we'll have a question and discussion session after 18 speakers' presentation, allowing everyone to delve deeper into the topics and engage in discussions. We have also scheduled break time during the conference. Before we begin, I kindly request that the speakers mute their microphones. Well, now let's start our conference. Welcome to our first guest, Mr. Manuji Kumar from India. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Shall I share my screen, madam?
Yeah, you can share your PowerPoint now. Okay. I can see the PowerPoint now. Yeah. And your voice is also clear. Now you can start.
Okay. Welcome, respected ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to discuss about current technical challenges in Indian layer market. We are going to first see about Indian layer strains, more chick placement, which is currently happening in India, grower nutrition in India, followed by metabolic diseases of layers in India. In Indian layer strains, first we will see about the types of layers in India. There are two types of layers available in India currently. The brown layers, which occupies only 10% of the all layer populations available in India. This is followed by white egg layers, which occupies 90% of the egg layers in India. Why there is more white layers in India compared to the brown egg layers? Because white layers focuses on affordable market and the bird takes less feed intake and the egg weight ranges around 55 to 57 grams in general. When it comes to brown egg layers, it is focused more towards the premium market. The feed intake is more and the egg weight ranges between 60 grams to and above. So there is more white layers present in India, around 90%, and less number of brown layers present. In North India, around 55 gram and above, whatever might be the egg weight, it fetches the same price. Whereas in South India, if you get 57 gram and above, fetches the same price. So bigger eggs are not getting any premium prices in India. Okay. Further, the brown layers, there is an additional premium rate. So the brown egg layers are comparatively less when compared to the white layers. Now we see about Indian brown layer strain. There is only one strain available in India, which is BV380. B stands for Babcock from Venkateshwara. And there are no specific standards for this breed. Why there are no specific standards? Because it was focused for backyard placement only. Nowadays, since they are fetching some premium prices, few farms has been started in the recent 5 years. Now we will see about Indian white layers. Coming to white layers, the population is 285 million white egg layers in India. There are 4 different strains. First is the oldest strain, Babcock, supplied by Venkateshwara hatcheries. Next is the Bovans from Skylark, where they initially came with the blue Now they place the green. We will see the difference between blue and green in the next slide. Next came the Loman. Previously, Sugna used to supply Loman. Now it is supplied by JK Group in South India and Love Farms in North India. And finally, the Highline White. Previously, Highline came to India and they were directly supplying chicks. Now they are supplying through Srinivasa hatcheries. Srinivasa hatcheries previously used to supply Babcock chicks. What is the difference between Bowman's blue and green? Here the difference, this is the old breed, this is the advanced breed. The difference is in terms of feed intake as well as body weight gain, which we will see in the forthcoming slides with data. Next, we are going to see about the strain characteristics. I already told there are 4 different strains: Babcock, Bowens, Lohmann, and Highline. So as per the breed record, okay, we can keep Babcock up to 80 weeks, but people are keeping up to 100 weeks. Other remaining breeds are kept up to 100 weeks. But Babcock is still holding the largest market share. Why it is holding the largest market share? First of all, it is the India's oldest breed, and it is the most adaptive breed to the Indian harsh environment, as well as it was adapting well to the molting. But how Bowens gained the market share when they entered? Because they are the first breed to enter into India with the concept of 100 weeks. So they slowly started gaining market share. When it comes to Lohmann, they told they are the very big size egg producers. Of course, they made a very good entry, but later they faced prolapse. We will discuss in detail about the prolapse connected with Lohmann. And finally, the Highline, which came with the concept of least quantity of feed consuming breed. That means it consumes very less feed to produce the same number of eggs. But point is that it is less disease resistance. So, of course, Babcock has its own disadvantages. Like initially there will be small size eggs, later there will be broken eggs. That's why even though it produces 483 eggs, not all the eggs are saleable. Initial eggs cannot be sold because it is so small in size, and later eggs you can see lot of broken eggs. Coming to Bowens and Lohmann, they lay up to 479 eggs to 481 eggs in a span of 82 weeks. That is the laying period. And finally, the Highline, this even though it is the least feed consuming, it also produces around 466 eggs. These are all the breed characteristics. Now we will see the difference in the feed intake. If you take all these are white Lachance strains, you can notice Highline strain is having the lowest feed intake. See here the feed intake 5640 grams. That is the Highline feed intake. Even Babcock also takes the same quantity, but Babcock is not that called as the lowest feed intake breed. We will see what is the reason. See, coming to Lohmann, they are large sized birds. So they take around 6181, roughly about 570 grams higher when compared to the Highline as well as Babcock. I told there is a difference between Bowens blue and Bowens green. You can see there is around 224 grams higher feed intake in the first 18 weeks of age. Okay, what about the remaining period? Up to 100 weeks, Highland is the least feed consuming breed, around 64 kilograms its take. When it comes to Lohmann from all the 3 suppliers, now Suguna stopped supplying Lohmann, whereas Lohmann from Love Farms as well as Lohmann from JK, they supply around birds which can consume around 67 kilograms. The Bowens blue, the previous breed is the old breed is consuming 67, but later breed is consuming more. That is the difference as well as the body weight gain. Babcock, you see, initially it is consuming as equal to Highland, but during the later ages, the consumption keeps on increasing. It is the highest feed consuming bird. Of course, that's why it is getting best adapted to all kind of environment. So first we have seen about 2 types of layers, brown and white. And brown there is only 1 strain, on white there are 4 strains. And we saw each strain has its own advantages as well as disadvantages. Each has its own positive and unique characteristics, and Babcock still holding the largest market share. Next we see about more chick placement in India. First we will see about underweight chicks. in India. What are underweight chicks? If you have the younger parents tend to produce small size eggs when compared to the standard size eggs. Obviously, when you place these younger parents for hatching, you will have the chicks which is weighing less in terms of body weight. These are all weak chicks. There will be less immunity, there will be less feed intake, leading to yolk sac infection. What is yolk sac infection? We will discuss in detail in the forthcoming slides. So there is high mortality. So currently, whenever they face this issue, a combination of injectable antibiotic as well as vitamin supplement is being done. But why they are placing eggs from younger parents? Actually, the heavy competition forces chick companies to place younger chick from younger parents. Then the question arises, why there is heavy competition in India? Currently, as per the data, India is the second largest producer of egg, produces around 6.7 million metric tons of eggs. This indicates there are more chick placement happening in India for last few years, and there is heavy competition between companies for gaining their market share. So this forces the companies to place younger chicks. Next comes feed particle size. How feed particle size is relevant with the underweight chicks that we are going to see in this forthcoming slides. The feed intake will get affected, okay, if the birds are not taking the bigger feed particle size. But why there is a biggest issue if there is less or no feed intake in chicks? Chicks after hatching will have yolk left in that body, which is called the yolk sac. It is for supplementing the energy. But when the chicks started taking the feed, the yolk will disappear. But if the yolk remain as such, it will lead to yolk sac infection. Why these weak chicks are taking less feed? It can take sufficient feed as well. Why it is not so? Because your feed crumbles. Chick crumble is having both bigger feed particle size as well as smaller feed particle size. Here, chicks are not in a position to take, especially weaker chicks, to take the bigger feed particle size. They will take only the remaining leftover lower feed particle size, smaller feed particle size. Ultimately, the feed intake is less, yolk sac is not observed. You will get typical yolk sac infection like this. At farm level, we get, while doing postmortem, we got yolk sac infection like this. Here you can see the feed intake is happening, but the feed intake quantity is not sufficient. It was taking only the finer particles. It is unable to take the coarser particles. So feed intake was not sufficient and yolk sac infection happened at farm level. Now farmer typically used to ask the question, why there is a yolk sac infection? It came from nature. Okay, it should not get infected. Then I tell the example between water and milk. If you keep water for 8 hours in a room temperature, nothing will happen. You can drink the water later. But if you keep the milk for 8 hours, obviously it gets spoiled. Why? Because milk is having all the essential nutrients, be it protein, fat, minerals, vitamins, everything available in the liquid form, which is readily available for the microbes to get it spoiled. The same applies for yolk sac. Yolk sac is having all the nutrients in the liquid format readily available to get it spoiled. Hence, there is a stipulated time beyond which yolk sac cannot remain inside the chick. Then there is a simple question. Okay, can we reduce the feed particle size? Because we know there are a lot of problems. We are getting weaker chicks. Okay, it will get solved after a few years. But for that, the answer is no. Then the question arises, why, sir? First, we have to understand the poultry digestive system before we arrive at a conclusion of reducing feed particle size. To take a bird, you take that entire digestive system, know where the grinding happens except the gizzard. That's why gizzard is so strong and it is called as the muscular stomach. So the entire digestive system depends on the gizzard for grinding whatever the bird takes in. So the feed particle size is having a connection with gizzard. How it is connected? Let me quote with an example. A bodybuilder is doing exercise to get bigger muscles by using a bigger dumbbells or a heavy dumbbells. The same thing, the coarser the feed particle size it will be, better it will be for the development of the gizzard. That's why if you have a backyard chicken, You can able to see stones inside the gizzard if you are feeding finer particle size. If it is turkey, you got a bigger stones. If it is an ostrich, you can see even bigger. Even in emu also, you can see bigger stones. Why? The bird knows it needs coarse particles. We cannot add stone inside. Hence, we have to give crumble of optimum size. Then they left with what is the solution. The question arises with the farmer. When I ask the farmer, can you do weighment from 12 a.m. to 4 a.m.? Generally, farmer asks, why I should weigh during early times? This is the time the chicks will get placed. You do the weighment and ensure you are accepting those chicks which are meeting the weighment standards. If you are not accepting, then you have to reject. Then what is the standard weighment? Around 36 to 38 gram is the standard weighment. When it comes to Babcock, it is little bit smaller. 1 gram of luxury is there. So where do the big chicks weigh? It will be 3 to 4 grams less than the normal chicks. Suppose if you are getting 10 to 5 percentage of big chicks, she is generally not, when generally we cannot avoid those things. We can grade those chicks, okay, and treat them separately. Now the question is, why I need to grade the chicks? I can treat them along with the healthy chicks. The point is that the management for the weak chick and the management for the healthy chicks is totally different. Here, for example, a farmer placed weak chicks along with healthy chicks, and he had reduced the height of the drinker, thinking that it will help the weak chicks because she cannot jump to have the water. But the healthy chicks are struggling to get the water. One important thing, this is the very close up photograph. Generally, we go towards chicks, chicks tend to run. Here, the head got trapped, so they could not run. Why the head got trapped? The iron bar height is kept too low. Why it is kept too low? Because here a weak chick is there. If they kept too high, the weak chicks might escape out of the cage. So they placed weak chicks, strong chicks together, and they reduced the height according to the weak chicks. Now strong chicks are struggling for feed intake as well as they are struggling to take the head back. So we must grade and we can treat the chicks if there are only 10 to 5 percentage of weak chicks are available. Here feeding, drinking, everything will vary, not only the treatment. Finally, we will see about initial vaccination challenges in the first topic. What are all the initial vaccination challenges? The question arises why there is a vaccination challenge. Actually, the schedule is very tight during the first 2 weeks. Without hence, farmers are so busy, they without checking the bird health status, they go for vaccination. If you take Highline and Lowman, there are around 4 vaccinations in the first 1 week. When it comes to Owen's Blue, initially it was 2 vaccination in first 7 days. Later, with the advanced breed, they got onto 3 vaccination. Babcock still follows 2 vaccination. So there is very hectic schedule running over here. So farmers don't find the time to check the health of the bird prior to vaccination. But sometimes vaccination is not good if you don't do prior health checkup. Why? If a bird is already suffering with any infection, if you do vaccination, it will be counterproductive. The mortality will increase. Here you can see the farm record. You don't need to worry about the numbers. In the next slide, I will show the expanded version. Here you can see mortality keeps on there. Just notice during 15th March 21, this person had vaccinated IB Lasota plus Lasota. There you can see there is a spike in terms of mortality. If you see the next slide, you will understand clearly where I put it in the table. 10th March, day 1, day 2, day 3, the mortality is not that much. There is some infection happened during the 13th of March and it got raised. The farmer did not ask the question why the mortality has risen. Shall we do the treatment? Instead, he allowed for the vaccination. After vaccination, the mortality is increased to 831 and the next day it is 340. It was during the morning itself. And the most important thing to notice, the vaccination done in morning 11 a.m. So he was complaining on our field due to your field there is so much mortality. Actually, we checked the farm record, then we did the post-mortem. You can see majority of the birds died due to yolk sac infection. You can see the unabsorbed yolks all over here. And few chicks died to the vaccination stress. Why vaccination stress? Because they done vaccination at 11 a.m. When I asked, generally vaccination should be done at night. He told, sir, the vaccinators are quite busy. they told they may not be available next day. So this is the case. Hence, instead of running behind the schedule, if you notice whether the bird is healthy or not, after that, if we do vaccination, then vaccination will help, or else it might be counterproductive. So first we saw about underweight chicks. Then we discussed on why there is the pressure on the company, because we are the second largest egg producer. So there is a pressure on company to produce more number of chicks. So underweight chicks bound to be there. Then we saw about feed particle size. In that we saw about the role of feed particle size connected with the healthy gizzard, and we cannot reduce feed particle size beyond a point. Finally, we saw yolk sac infection. Then we talk about initial vaccination challenges, where during the first week, the vaccination schedule is too hectic. So they were in a position to vaccinate those birds only after checking their health. But farmers are not doing that. Because of that, vaccination is counterproductive. Next, we discuss about grower nutrition in India. This is the most ignored nutrition in India. We are going to see why grower nutrition is the most ignored nutrition in India. You see, current situation during first and second week, there will be mortality, huge mortality in chicks if you are not giving a proper feeding. So people take utmost care for chicks. So whenever they place chicks, prior to placement, they purchase the feed. Next come during the laying phase. If you are doing any mistake by today, tomorrow you may not get a proper egg production. So what people used to do, they give proper feeding for layers. But when it comes to the chick stage, later chick stage, as well as the entire grower stage, you will see least mortality and there is no egg production. Generally, they used to ignore this stage. They may go for their own feeding, they may go for the cheaper feeding, they may mix other raw materials and try to reduce the cost of production. See, that's what's happening in our feed sales area also. We get the highest order from layers. Next highest orders is from chicks. Grower, many areas we don't used to get orders because people think companies branded feed is higher cost. Let us go for our own feed. Let us try to reduce the cost over here. But grower nutrition is very much important for bone growth of birds. Now we will see why bone growth of birds is so important. Here, the current wild Lachance strains, whatever it may be it Babcock, Bowens, Highline, as well as Lowman, up to 12 weeks, the bone growth will be good. After that, there is no much bone growth. So hence it is not advisable to add anything oil in the later stage to achieve the desired body weight. So if we achieve as per the standard body weight, then we will get tall, lean birds. Or else you might get short round birds if you try to add oil in the later stage of the growers. Why we need tall lean birds? Because it is very well connected with egg productions. How it is connected, we are going to see in the next slide. See, the eggshell contains a calcium up to 2 grams. It comes from two sources. It derives calcium from the two sources. First comes from the nutrition, where major part of the calcium, around 80%, goes from feed and nutrition only, 1.6 gram. Remaining 20%, that minor part of the calcium comes from the bones. This is happening in morning. Then the question arises, is it possible to supply 479 eggs multiplied by 0.4 grams of calcium from a single bird? Actually, it is not possible. Then how the bird is managing? During the night time, calcium gets replaced in the bone. Okay. So the calcium, imagine 0.4 gram of the calcium is spent. The deposit will be such that 0.399 or 0.395 like that. That's why the bone strength keep on losing towards the culling period. That means the bone strength of the younger bird will be better, whereas the bone strength of older bird will be very weak. So this is the calcium cycle. Okay, now the question asks, then why there is a problem? Even if it is small bone, it will get replaced. Even if it is bigger bone, it will get replaced. Why I should need a lean, tall bird rather than a short round bird, both weighing the same weight. The difference is metaphysis, that is medullary bone, which is the central portion of the bone, and the epiphysis, the round portion of the bone. Here it is a tall, lean birds. It is having very long bones. The middle part is having more calcium. So, whenever the egg production is happening, the calcium will go from here and it will get replaced. But when it comes to short round birds, the middle portion is somewhat small. So what it will happen, after a particular point, there will be a calcium depletion will happen in the medullary region. So they have no other option. They will should go for the round portion, which is epiphyseal portion. Here the point is, we can take calcium away from this, but we will not be in a position to replace the calcium. So ultimately, you can see lot of lameness issue. So generally, we have a question from the farmers. Sir, we are doing farming right from for 3 generations. Our grandfather used to do poultry farming. Okay, we are also doing poultry farming. Okay, and our sons are also doing poultry. Last 10 years only, we are facing these problems on lameness. Previously, we don't face that much. See, previously the breed were kept up to 72 weeks only. That means around 200 to 300 eggs only it will be produced. That's why Backup has one more name called as BV300. BV300 stands for Babcock from Beckley Sarah hatcheries, which can produce up to 300 eggs. But nowadays, the strains got improved. We can keep birds up to 100 weeks and we can get up to 483 eggs, which is the highest in Babcock. But few people keep up to 120 weeks also. They give second molting, they keep on keeping the birds. So from a bird, around 500 eggs also, many people are getting. So in earlier stage, if they have any issue, for example, generally during the initial stage, you may not face any issues. But at the later stage, for example, at the age of 67 weeks, 68 weeks, if they face any issue means, anyway, they are going to do the culling by 72 weeks. They will cull 5 weeks in advance. That is the luxury for the old strains got. Where it comes to new strains, you have to keep up to 100 weeks. Some people keep on up to 110 weeks also. So we don't have the luxury. So if any lameness happens by 70 weeks, we cannot cull those birds. So we are keeping these birds for a longer period of time. So the initial fundamental work, that is chick and grower nutrition in first 18 weeks of age, is very much important. Is there other reason for lameness apart from egg production? Yes, there is other reason why that is happening. See, the bird are used to stand in a slopy cage. Okay, they don't stand in a straight cage. It is like the birds are wearing high heels for 82 weeks continuously, day in, day out. That means 24/7 into 82 weeks. So there will be always huge pressure on the legs. So unless you have very strong bone development, which happens in the first 12 weeks, followed by strengthening of the bird nutrition, you will have a problem of lameness in the later age, because initially bird used to stand for 52 weeks in the slopy cage. Now it must stand for another extra 30 weeks. So there is extra pressure. To bear that extra pressure, we need that extra strength. So first we saw about most ignored nutrition, bone growth. Next we will see about weight gain in growers. First we will see about the thumb rule of 250 grams, because there are many different strains are available. If you follow the thumb rule, it will be easy to monitor the weight gain. Be it Highline, Lowman, Bovans, as well as Babcock. There is a very huge difference in terms of feed intake, but when it comes to weight gain, almost 250 grams you will reach. Leave about the extra 5 grams or minus 5 grams here. Almost you will see 250 grams will reach by about week 4. By about week 7, almost 500 grams the birds will reach. By about week 10, around 750 grams the bird will reach. By about week 14, you will reach 1 kilogram. By about 18th week, you will reach 1 to 50 grams. You can see there is a difference of 3 grams, 5 grams, some 25 grams like that. Okay. So there is no much difference in terms of body weight gain. So what we must do, keep the weight always little bit more than a standard. For example, here my standard is 180 gram. I should try to achieve 190 gram. Why? What is the reason? When they gave the standard, we can follow the standard. Why we should be little bit ahead of the standard means there is repeat stress happening during this age, because right from the day old till 18 weeks, all your vaccination will get completed. During this time only, by about 7 to 10 days, there will be depeaking, followed by second depeaking during 10th to 12th week. So birds undergo regular pressure, as well as we are going to shift birds from brooding to grower cage or else chick cage to grower cage during this phase. From at the later age, we are going to transfer these growers into layer cage. So there is always a moment, there is always a vaccination, there is debeaking. All these things put enormous pressure on the body weight. So if you are going to keep the body weight little bit on the higher side, it can counter what are all the stress factors it is facing. Now the most important thing, which is very important for the farmers, about the cost contribution per egg production. Per egg production, what is the cost and how it is relevant with grower nutrition in India. Why the cost production means farmer tries to reduce the cost through feed, because feed contributes the major cost in egg production. See, total, if you say the feed intake for 100 weeks will be, for Highline it is standing at 64 kilogram, Babcock it is 69 kilograms, remaining bovines, Lowman around 67 kilograms. The advanced bovine feed up to 68 kilograms. That's what we have seen. In the broiler feed is hardly 4.3 to 4.5 kg. Even if you include chick feed also, hardly 5.6 kg to 6.1 kg, which is not even 10% of the total feed intake. For better understanding, we will see the exact cost calculation. It is put cost calculation done in Indian rupees. See approximate cost production per egg. I have included chick cost, vaccination cost, maintenance and others, which includes labor cost and everything. First 8 weeks, we are recommended to give chick feed. 9 to 18 weeks, we are recommended to give grower feeds, which is the cost of per chick cage, chick feed kg cost is 35 rupees, grower feed 28 rupees. Hardly there is 0.72 rupees or 72 paisa. That is the amount of investment which we are going for per egg production. Then where is the major cost is coming from? It's coming from layer feed. So in the layer feed around 3 rupees 34 paisa. What is paisa mean? 100 paisa is equal to 1 Indian currency. So 4 rupees 7 paisa is the total cost. In that major chunk comes from here. Here farmer trickily does, okay, I will try to reduce the price, say about by 2 rupees. What will happen? We are going to see the same table but in a comparative format in the next slide. Here you can see the same table is being repeated. Here farmer tried to reduce it by 2 rupees. Instead of 28 rupees, he had reduced it by 26. That means 2 rupees per kg reduction. But instead of per cost, the egg price, the cost of egg production increased. Okay, it got increased by 9 paisa. Why it increased? That we are going to see in the same slide. What about the total cost of egg production? 51 paisa it got increased. 51 paisa it got increased. The same layer feed, same chick feed, but I had altered the grower feed. How it is possible? Why the cost of production increases when I am trying to reduce the cost of production by reducing the feed cost, especially in grower, because you will compromise on egg production. Here I used to get 370 eggs. If you definitely compromise on the cost due to lameness, due to prolapse, due to mortality, the egg production will be hampered. Obviously, you will get less number of eggs. So you can ensure the cost of production by ensuring optimum egg production, not by reducing the feed cost, particularly ignoring the grower nutrition. So we saw why grower nutrition is most ignored, because least mortality, no egg production, but it should not be done. Then we saw about bone growth, where we need tall, lean birds, not short, round birds. where we saw difference in metaphysis and epiphysis, that is round portion and middle portion of the bird, where one area calcium can be replaced, other calcium cannot be replaced. Next comes the weight gain of the growers. It can be little bit above standard due to repeated vaccination stress, debeaking as well as transfer of birds. Next, cost of egg production. See, including the chick feed as well as broiler feed, it hardly contributes 10% of the layer feed intake. So if we try to alter here, we will compromise on bird health as well as future egg production. Cost will grow instead of cost will coming down. Okay. Next, we will see about the metabolic disease in layer. First, we will see about lighting done based on age. There is 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of night light. So normally, lighting stimulation, we have to give extra light that starts by about 18 weeks as per pre-book standard. But should we consider only age or should we consider body weight also? No, we should consider body weight also. Why? See, already I told about thumb rule of 250. Okay, up to 18 weeks we are on. Now it will take another 7 weeks to reach another 250 grams. That means 1500. Beyond that, there is no much growth. Birds don't grow that much. That we will see in the last part of the presentation. So post lighting, you can see the growth is not up to the mark. Okay, and post this age also. So people many a times, especially lowman, where the feed intake is more, they go for urgent lighting. So what will happen? Initial egg production, no problem, because small size eggs, then comes medium size eggs, then comes the normal average eggs. But when it comes to big eggs, you will face the problem. The bigger eggs will not be in such a position to come out of the smaller uterus. You can see prolapse. Prolapse due to early lighting. You can see early means not based on age, based on body weight. You can see this is an internet photograph of prolapse. This is real photographs taken in India, especially in Loman. Why Loman? The Loman are big egg size producers and they are having prolapse, which I already told you in the previous presentation. Why prolapse means up to 18 weeks, Loman takes 6,181 grams, around 6.1 kilogram it will take. But people try to feed as per Babcock standards, 5.6, 5.7 like that. The bird development or the body weight will not reach up to that mark and they go for lighting. During initial period, small eggs, no problem. When big eggs comes, automatically prolapse happens. So now we will see two topics which are relevant to each other. First, we will see about feed intake versus egg production. See, I already told you after 25 weeks, there is no much body weight gain in layers. Then why the feed intake keep on increasing? It increases up to 110 grams. Why means these 110 grams have the role to produce egg production, maintenance, as well as for the feces. So in this way, it gets distributed. So whenever the feed goes, it goes to all these three portions. That means if there is a problem in feed intake, it should reflect in egg production. That means feed intake goes down, egg production should also go down. But what happens if egg production goes down and feed intake is as such? That's what we are going to see in the next topic. Feed intake versus body weight gain. Here, there will be fat accumulation because instead of the feed going for egg production, it goes into the body. That means instead of 55 to 57 gram of that egg production, that excess nutrition is diverted into the body and it result in fat accumulation. That means feed intake remains as such, but the egg production is keep on going down and the farmer did not notice the point. Obviously, it will lead to fatty liver hemorrhage syndrome. And do we have a practical example for this? Yes, we have the practical example. Just see the postmortem. You can see pale foam, white foam. Why white foam means it, the bird died due to fatty liver. So blood came here, so there is no enough blood. So there is a white foam. So this is the fatty liver. This is the clotted blood. This is the fat accumulation happened and the ovary got damaged. You can see How the damaged ovary looks like in the next slide. Here, while I was doing postmortem, the ovary got broken. You can see in this picture, generally damaged ovary will be misshapen or cauliflower shaped. Sometimes it gets coagulated. That means feed intake is there, egg production is not there, the excess nutrition is diverted into body, leading to fatty liver. Next comes where feed intake is there, egg production is also there. Here you can see the typical fatty liver hemorrhagic syndrome. Okay. Next, we saw the fatty liver as well as the blood clot, as well as the fat accumulation. You can see feed intake is quite normal. The egg got produced, but it got blocked inside the uterus. It did not came out. Why it did not came out? While opening, we can able to see the egg got blocked inside the uterus. It is a sharp cell egg which got blocked inside the uterus. It did not came out. The ovaries are quite normal. It is not damaged. So egg production is happening, but egg got blocked. Once the egg got blocked, it remains as is. The birds keep on eating the feed for the next egg, but next egg is not able to come up because it got blocked and finally lead to fatty liver hemorrhagic syndrome. We have one more example for this because it tend to happen repeatedly. Lot of diseases causes soft shell eggs, okay, as well as feed and nutrition case. Here also you can see the same thing. You see in the next slide. You can able to notice the ovaries are well developed, but the birds suffer from fatty liver because egg is produced, but egg is not released from the uterus. You can see a preliminary stage also, where bird did not go on up to fatty liver hemorrhagic syndrome, just fatty liver. Okay. Here you can see the pale liver over here. Here you can see fat accumulation over here. Here also you can see egg got blocked. When I open, it is still worse. There also at least some soft shell is there. Here almost shellless. So, and the remaining eggs, which are older eggs, which came over here, that also got blocked. It is like caseous ring-like structure typical to E. coli infection. Here you can see feed intake is quite normal. Feed intake is normal, egg production is not happening due to thing. Now the question arises, why the soft cells don't come up? Okay, the soft cells are blocked or what? What is the reason? Actually, egg don't comes like a bullet. It comes like a football. That means it rolls over the uterus and used to come. So imagine instead of football, if I give you a water balloon and I ask you kick, it will not in a position to roll and come out. So generally it got trapped. So what you must do here, feed intake as per standard, egg production is not happening either due to ovary damage or due to blockage. The extra energy is generally diverted here. Here regular postmortem analysis were not done in these forms. Okay. So the excess nutrition which goes inside the bird's body, it is deposited as fat. Here, finding the root cause and ensuring the etiology or the root cause is being removed. It can be due to viral infections like IV, it can be due to E. coli infections, it can be due to calcium supplementation, whatever it may be, that needs to be treated along with bile acid so that the fat also removed and the bird's egg production also comes normal so that we can get the desirable results. Now, finally, we are going to see about summer mortality. There it is also connected with fatty liver. In winter, there will be less temperature. Birds tend to eat little bit more, around 3 to 4 grams or 5 grams extra. And later, when it comes to summer, you will get a very fat bird. And the birds, what will happen during winter? While there is more fat, it acts like a sweater for the bird. Okay, so birds will be normal, production will be normal. Okay, the same fat bird when it reaches suddenly to the summer, already it is don't have any sweat glands. Now through panting also beyond a point it cannot give the heat outside. So it will lead to a mortality. Do we have an example for fatty liver hemorrhage from even with good egg production? This is the best example. Here you can see the pale comb because blood is lost through fatty liver hemorrhagic syndrome. Here the more feed consumption happened during cold weather. How we can prove it? During the postmortem, there is no egg blockage, nothing was there. Production was quite normal. Only when summer came, suddenly there is high mortality. So what we should do? We have already seen body weight gain up to 25 weeks. See carefully 1500 grams in the range. Now, Up to 100 weeks, hardly 150 to 180 grams only weight increase is allowed. That means after 25 years of age, if you take humans as example, if you are gaining body weight, not by doing exercise means obviously it will gain through fat only. Here, the most important thing is during cold season itself, we have to check the body weight. Imagine a bird at 50 weeks of age, if it is having 1700, 1750 grams. And after 10 days, it is again moving by 30 grams extra. That means the birds are gaining weight. Where production is normal, everything is normal. That time itself, during winter, when there is no problem, little bit feed intake is normal, weight gain is happening. There itself, we have to address it through bile acids or address that weight gain through feed and nutrition. Then we will not have the problem. But generally, what people used to do, people allow during the entire winter. For example, entire 4 months, the bird keep on gaining weight. Imagine, for example, the bird is having a weight around average weight of 1850. That is roughly 200 grams more than the standard weight, that too at the culling stage. Suddenly, if they expose it to summer, then they will tell, sir, we are giving double dose of bile acid, we are giving triple dose of bile acid. For them, the answer is, if you are becoming fat by eating for 4 months, suddenly within 4 days, you cannot become lean, no matter what medicine you give. Here, management become altogether more important. So we saw about lighting done based on age, but it should be based on body weight as well. Feed intake versus egg production, how it is relevant with the body weight gain. When feed intake is normal, egg production is not happening. Then we saw about summer mortality ended with fatty liver hemorrhagic syndrome. What is the summary? Indian layer strains, we saw about 2 layer strains, brown egg producers, white egg 4 strains, brown egg 1 strain. Then we saw about strain characteristics. Then we saw about more chick placement, weak chicks, then second largest egg producer, feed particle size, feed intake, yolk sac infection, and initial vaccination challenges. Then comes grower nutrition in India, which is most ignored, and how bone growth is important for egg production, then weight gain and cost contribution. Then finally, metabolic disease in India, which lighting associated with collapse, feed intake versus egg production, and feed intake versus body weight gain we had checked, where we saw both type of fatty liver. Fatty liver slowly happening during the winter season, and it is showing its effects during summer. Fatty liver happened because egg production is not there, either due to blockage or due to ovary damage. So knowing the why is the most important. Most of the presentation will be focused on that only. Most of the people knows what needs to be done. Through little experience, definitely we know how we can proceed that work. Only if you know the why part, even if it is the most difficult work, you will try to do. For example, 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. You do the chick weighment while doing placement. Most farmers don't do because they don't know why it is so much important. Most farmers don't go for the winter weighment checking because birds are normal, egg production are normal, but they don't check. They try to check during summer because they see the mortality. If they know the why we are doing attempting a thing, definitely everybody will do the tough task, and we will ensure we can address all these technical challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Manuji.
Yes.
Dr. Manuji started with India layer strains and talked about nutrition and diseases. Very rich content. It brings a lot of information to our audience. Let's see if the audience has any questions. Okay, I got 2 questions here. Question 1 is fatty liver syndrome more likely to occur in winter or summer?
Fat accumulation starts by winter. We are seeing the effect during summer. We are getting more complaints of fatty liver during summer. But
so it's more likely to occur in summer, right?
But the effect starts, but the reason for the fatty liver starts during winter.
Okay.
Best example I can say, if a person eats heavy food for continuously for 4 months, after 4th month, suddenly if you check, the weight will be more. Okay. The root cause is during the winter is the most important thing which needs to be done. But actually people address when they see mortality, suddenly mortality spike is happening, they either go for bile acids, they either go for other solutions, and they triple dose, double dose, all these things during summers. But they should do round the clock. Right about winter itself, had they checked where the standard weight is, for example, 1500 grams, they got 100 grams extra during the time itself. If they use, they change the food and nutrition, they change, use the bile acid, and then they check the body weight gain, they will get lean healthy birds during summers. But they allow the weight gain to happen slowly. But once the farmer sees only when egg production or mortality is addressed, otherwise he is not seeing that.
Oh, okay. Very detailed answer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj. Yeah, and the second question is it easier to get fatty liver diseases if layers eat more?
If layers eat more, yes, if it eats more than
More
a
feed.
yes, yes, it will
Yeah.
get fatty liver, but we will not be in a position to control that thing, because the 2 gram extra, 3 gram extra, they tend to take. Okay, here it can be addressed only by altering the feed and nutrition, as well as using the bile acids in an extra dose. If you are normally using 150 grams per metric ton, you can go for 200 grams per metric ton, but that depends on the advice as well as the measurement of the body weight. And post treatment, we have to see what is the effect after 1 month. We can see normal, then bring back those bile acid to normal, bring back the nutrition to normal. Again, you are seeing, again you do. So you have to do in a dynamic way so that the risky cold period is being addressed. Generally, people don't take much care during cold period because mortality will be less. Egg prices also will be high. They will get good egg production. Even if there is minor drop in egg production, they may not take it very seriously, because they are anyway getting that good money from the market, because egg consumption increases during cold period. But when summer comes, suddenly egg production drops, suddenly if he sees mortality, suddenly all problems he is seeing, means the farmer get furious. Actually, few companies take it as advantage, not like us. They import product, they increases the price by 4 times during that summers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I got another question. The question is, seem like course course in crop, but they will be sensitized and develop itself for big and hard gathered. Body has the ability to produce bile. Do regular use of synthetic bile salt could sensitize body and make bird body to reduce production naturally?
Yeah. This is the one most important question which many farmers used to ask. That means
Yeah.
I am going to supply bile acid, but naturally also bile acid is produced by liver. Imagine I keep on supplementing with bile acids. Will the bird become so much that it cannot produce natural bile acids? Okay. That is not so. Why? Because liver has almost 40 different functions. Bile acid production alone is not the function. Coming to the protein metabolism, coming to fat metabolism, coming to storage of glucagon, coming to detoxification, you name any, liver is having huge function. And apart from that, it needs to produce fat also, because yolk parts needs the fat. So if you see a normal layer without any problem also, you cannot get deep colored liver. Always the liver will be little bit pale, little bit thin, because it is on continuous stress. That means every 26 hours one egg. Okay, that means in 576 days it needs to lay 479 eggs. Continuous production. So liver is always under stress while it is in layers. So whatever you are going to help in terms of bile acid supplement, it can only help those birds. Maybe what you are telling is for the natural birds, which can hardly produce 30 eggs per year or 40 eggs per year. After that, there is no egg production. But here, non-stop, restless, 479 to 483 eggs it is producing. So definitely it needs a supplement. So whatever supplement we are going to do, it will generally boost like an athlete. Super athlete is there, he needs supplement, but not for the normal one. So definitely supplementing continuously with the bile acid also will not create any problem. It will only support the liver and ensure you can see better egg production. Because for 100 weeks of birds, we ourselves done a project, we ourselves gave. Actually, throughout that 100 weeks, we saw his egg production, everything was good. But he have to follow management also. Just because giving one solution, you cannot get all problems solved. So breed, feed, management, disease, all these four collectively determine farm performance. So definitely, if you continuously give bile acids also, it will not desensitize the liver for not producing. You are helping that liver only. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Manuji, and thank you for your detailed questions. And I think our audience totally understand this time. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
For joining us. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Now, now you can end your sharing screen.
Okay, stop share. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now I'm gonna welcome our second guest, Mr. Actor. What he's about to share with us today is digging deeper to improve the production potential of lean hens. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. So happy to have a chance to present my presentation. Good afternoon from Bangladesh time to you all, and welcome you all to my presentation that digging deeper to improve the production potential of laying hens. So it's very important to know that if we want to get high benefits towards highest benefits, we should know how to reduce the possible problems. That's very important. We can think that it's easy to calculate, but it's not so easy in practically to face the problem. So birds are being reared for a long period to lay eggs, that is human food. So it's a conversion. It's not as a machine. It's a living animal. It should convert our nutritions provided to it for an egg. So we would like to get highest eggs to get the highest potentiality. But it's very important to know how to reduce problems which will be coming again and again in the later part of the birds when it will get reached to egg production. I will analyze everything from my understanding and experience. This is Akhtaruzzaman, technical expert of a feed mill in Bangladesh. We produce feeds to feed our own layers, 500,000 layers. It's control shed. So from our experience and understanding how the problems will be reduced, we'll show you one by one. So it's a slogan, more layer benefits creates if I know how to less possible, potential problems. Malia? The world cannot lose layer because it provides nutrition. So it's very important to know the advanced rearing systems for layers with less mortality. People agriculture poultry over 6,000 years. They accompany our history for a long time. Nowadays, large-scale rearing of layer is getting more and more popular across the world. Why? Advanced management result in more layer benefits. But we know how to get this benefit. That is important. China and some other countries' layer farms are targeted for 8 weeks of rearing that produce 300 plus pieces of eggs. On the other hand, in Bangladesh, we are not achieving up to the mark. Why? We will explain it. The layer egg peak production and the later period of egg production are very critical areas that will decide whether I will get production benefit or not. These two areas, egg peak production, how much it will be longer, and layer egg production, how I can get more eggs at the layer period of the birds. These two period of laying of a layer hen is very critical issue. We have to address it. Layer and breeder character. It takes longer times, already we have come to know that even though on ROI, return on investment, 80 weeks are targeted, but it might be extended 100 weeks or 100 plus weeks. So the art of intestinal gut area and the function of other organs like liver, gizzard, this, and as proventriculus also, even though it is a small stomach, these organs all together will convert our nutrition into human food like an egg, but this area will be vulnerable because liver will get a lot of burden. We don't know how the liver will get burden enough, and the intestinal gut area like villi, length of villi, and other areas might be vulnerable. There are so many factors. So this intestinal gut area, including liver, are vital organs to convert all the nutrients which will be provided to birds. Nowadays, high density rearing system in our country, multi-storied building and high density to get optimum eggs in small areas, they would like to get how this bird will be treated. So without advanced technology and advanced monitoring system of the management, it's not possible to get highest potentiality of a layer. So that's the high level of management is very important here. And already mentioned, problems of later period of laying is critical issue also, how we will address this. Otherwise, we will not get up to the mark eggs. So these are the vital things to know how to manage intestinal gut area and the proper nutrition and utilization of vital organ of liver, because liver function is here very important to get protein, vitamins, fat, and others necessary enzymatic activation, which is very important. If I provide good nutrition, but my organs, intestinal gut area, and the liver are vulnerable, I will not get up to the mark potentiality of a hen. So more accurate nutrition of layer derived high level performance. So nutrition should be accurate. Why? Layer birds at early stage, it starts with a starter feed. Already our speaker mentioned that during 2 weeks, if day-old chicks are not used to get feed properly, so it will be vulnerable to grow up to the standard weight. So that's why proper nutrition and the feed intake must be monitored. It's very important. Then it leads to grower feed. Grower feed, if we don't get ready to pull it up to the standard body weight, I will never get highest potentiality of a hen. So after getting standard body weight, if I don't get standard body weight, I have to delay to get started laying. Laying depends on body weight as well as lighting stimulation. So getting into a starter of layer 1 feed for earlier stage, then it will be followed by layer 2, layer 3, and later part it will be layer 4. After 80 weeks, if I want to get 100 weeks or 100 plus weeks, then I have to follow layer 4 feeds. That will not so much protein, a little bit protein might be reduced at the layer 4 feeds. These 4 stages of laying period have some specific demand for feed nutrition for ensuring higher level of performance. If I don't formulate age-wise, production-wise feed, I mean these 4 feeds during the laying period are very important to get optimum, I mean highest performance of layers. We will never get the highest level of performance if these 4 stages of production are not improved with accurate nutrition needed. So I have to monitor how much egg, how percentage of eggs I'm getting from the hen, and what is the feed intake. If there is less number of eggs, but feed intake is more, I have to check my nutrition of the feed. I have to get it analyzed, and it will be corrected. And if my feed is concentrated enough, but it is not getting more up to the standard amount, like 120 gram, because Bangladesh are producing 90% brown eggs, 10% white eggs. It's opposite to India. So always 10 gram more for brown eggs. So if it is not getting 120 gram, it's getting 100 gram. So my feed should be concentrated enough to get proper nutrition from 100 gram. So always we have to look into the nutritional side as well as production side. It's correlated. This area are very critical. We have to address it. Feed potential risk of layer performance. There is a huge potential of feed for optimizing layer performance from day-old chicks to ready-to pullet. Always we should monitor. Our earlier speaker also mentioned that always we should monitor weight and amount of feed consumption that play pivotal role in setting up onset of egg production. Why I will get this birds for starting egg production, even though it is not a standard weight gain, that will get prolapse, that will get more stress, that will get less immunity, that birds will be prone to diseases. So many problems will come to the bird's body, and birds will be vulnerable. So it will get mortality also, sudden mortality might be coming. So that's very important. Whether I will get it at standard weeks of egg production, that shouldn't be delayed, but it should be delayed on the basis of body weight and feed nutrition. So birds are fed with vegetable and animal source feed ingredients. In addition, nutrition is not up to the mark. On the other hand, some anti-nutritional components and toxins are major concern also. So it's getting more vulnerable. Anti-nutritional factor as well as toxin. You know, there are some protease inhibitor and arabinoxylan and lectin. These are anti-nutritional factors which will affect birds more vulnerable, and toxin will be get extra burden on the liver. So liver will be facing problems to give the proper nutrition to the birds. So birds will be facing a lot of problems. There may be some mortality, and I cannot get the production as I expected from it. Both of these items for a long time of feeding are accumulated in the liver. These anti-nutritional factor and toxin will be in the liver. Liver is a vital organ to detoxify these toxins. So liver will be facing a lot of burdens that result in burden of liver and finally poor performance of egg production. Definitely, I will get poor performance because my lacking of proper nutrition as well as anti-nutritional factor and toxins, in addition to disease attacks, bird will be facing a lot of stresses. So even though birds are alive, birds are taking feeds, but bird will give me less production. The layer face normally challenges Bangladesh market. What we have seen, laying start delayed. In Bangladesh, it's a common. Why? Ready to lay pullet is not up to the standard in terms of body weight. So all the times it's being delayed starting laying. So it's the factor. I'm not getting egg produces at right time. So normally caused by poultry weight that cannot reach standard and lacking of appropriate nutrition on different ages, from a day-old chicks to pullet. So this area we have to address and monitors. Weekly monitoring is very important. Body weight monitoring is very important. Then I can get it started at the right time. Egg peak production for a short time. Okay, my bird has reached to peak production, but peak production graph, it's not longer. It's always zigzag, and then it's getting down for a longer period, and it's going up from my addressing the problems. So if I don't get peak production graph longer, I will never get highest potentiality from a hen. In addition to this, if there is any disease attacked or liver face a lot of burden, so nutritional functions to contribute eggs will be declined. Poor quality eggs. I'm getting eggs, but it's not up to the standard. Small eggs or number of broken eggs or thin shell eggs or blood spotted eggs, so many problems with eggs for quality deterioration. That might be caused by imbalance of amino acid, minerals, and some essential fatty acids. So amino acids and essential fatty acids are very important in addition to minerals. So these things are very critical. We have to address. Otherwise, I will not get highest potential of hen. Environment and waste management. In Bangladesh, 80% farms are open housing systems. 20% are control shed. It is getting progress day by day. But during summer season, birds are getting vulnerable due to excess heat, and waste management is not up to the mark. So birds are getting exposed to diseases. So these two areas we need to address, especially for open shed houses. Control shed, we try our level best to control the environment in the control shed to get highest production. But in summer, mineral deficiency, especially less calcification, even though farmers are putting a lot of calcium carbonate and other things to address problems of thin shell eggs and reduce the broken eggs, but it's very difficult if there is no proper treatment of liver. Liver is not healthy, so calcification and other vitamins are not coming out properly to produce eggs. So that's the point. Environmental and other pollution and sanitation are also important to get optimum production from a hen. Profit is always divided into net and gross profit. It is very easy to calculate the cost, but practically it is very difficult to get that cost. Cost might be increased. Why? That birds are being interrupted and face a lot of problems. So we can not get net profit if we can get gross profit, but finally, if we don't calculate how much actually I have to spend to face the problems, so that's a very important area. If we can prevent interruption of any disease attacks or other problems, then I can get highest potentiality as I expected from my birds. Because, if there is any problem simply on eggshell quality, price will be down. It will be graded separately. If thin shell, broken eggs, number of broken eggs will be increased. So it is calculated, this much money I will get. In true sense, I'm not getting that much money. So to get net profit for getting highest potentiality from an egg, facing a lot of problems, that must be addressed with advanced management technology. And create more layer rearing profit key time. I'm getting day-old chicks from hatchery. I should know the history of the hatchery, parent stocks history, how those cock and hen are being treated, and how many vaccines, or what's the immunity, maternal immunity, and whether my day-old chicks are getting salmonellosis, egg-borne diseases. So that's also recorded. Batch-wise, it needs to be recorded. Otherwise, I cannot rectify to get the highest performance from my hen. I cannot address the problems which will be coming in future. So that should know. Egg peak production terms potential benefits if it is longer. If I can longer peak production period, definitely I will get more profits. Otherwise, it's very difficult to get profit towards highest potentiality for producing eggs from a hen. Healthy liver means good egg production. It is proven, because liver is the vital organ to produce all the nutrients which are very necessary for producing an egg. Longer period is the key for getting optimum production. But we should know how to get longer period with highest production, why it is getting zigzag, what needs to be addressed. So that should be recorded batch-wise. Accordingly, poultry corrected to trigger more poultry performance. On the basis of that parameters, prevention is better than cure. It should be followed by advanced technology. How I can prevent all the diseases, in what way a vaccination schedule will be developed. From the past history, I have to develop it, and that should be followed strictly, and the biosecurity is strictly followed. Otherwise, all on a sudden, my birds might be attacked with diseases that will hamper to get highest performance from the layers. Poultry are people egg production factory. People are rearing poultry. It's alive animal, but it's not machine. It will start laying and continuously it will give us laying, but it might skip laying. Why it is skipping? That problems need to be addressed. Otherwise, we cannot get up to the mark production. It's chickens are bio character. It's crate easily infected by bacteria and virus. So viral infection, if it is attacked, there is no treatment. Immunity will be dropped down, even though it is vaccinated, but immunity will be dropped down. It will face a lot of stress. Stress leads to less production. So bacterial stress, viral stress will get less production. So we should try to know how to prevent these how to get birds less prone to these diseases from bacteria and viruses. The best keeping poultry health solution is getting poultry liver health better and improve poultry immunity. That's why our vital organ, intestinal gut area, liver, and the immunity by vaccination or naturally exposed to bacteria or viruses that will produce immunity. That's a very important area to address. Dealing with sudden drops in egg production, it's very difficult to face. All on a sudden, there may be a drop in egg production. So how it will be addressed? Unless hens lay at the constant high rate of production, it is difficult to make profit from them. So some critical management measures need to address, like minimizing stress. Always I need to find if there is any stress. So I have to minimize those stresses and protect against violent weather changes. Normal hens have body temperature of 105 to 107 degree Fahrenheit. So during summer, it's very difficult. If I don't address this situation, definitely I will get less production. So I have to address this and feed a complete diet. Feed will be tested. Why it is eating less? Is it for environmental factor or is it for any problem in the feed? That should be tested. No one ever deliberately feeds a poor ration to his birds. But sometimes in an effort to save money on feed, a slip may occur with serious result. So feeds need to be tested again and again if there is any problem in the lacking of appropriate amount of feed consumption. Adjustment of energy and protein ratio, that's very vital. Availability of fat soluble vitamins. So liver should be healthy enough to store available fat soluble vitamins and trace minerals which play a vital role in getting optimum performance. Once prevention fails, the poultry immunity decline and eventually disease resistance ability also decline. That results in less production. Weak immunity system and detoxifying ability means most bacterial and infection virus can penetrate and attack poultry easily. So I have to test bird's blood for getting immunity. How much immunity against Newcastle disease? How much immunity against avian influenza? How much immunity against salmonellosis? How much immunity against other diseases? Immunity status need to be tested and recorded. Otherwise, even though birds are eating, I will get less production. eventually production performance will be much, much lower if it is not addressed. Layer farming in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, there are parent stocks and parent stocks farms. Mainly Highline, Isa, Novogen are reared for producing brown eggs. Mostly brown eggs are produced. There are about 80,000 poultry farms are in Bangladesh, even though it was 100,000. But due to some avian influenza problem and other policies and minimizing the feed cost, some farms have already dropped. So it's now about 80,000. Among these numbers, only 18,000 are layer farms. 20% are controlled sheds and 80% are open houses, still open houses. So birds are very vulnerable. They are not producing up to the mark production. A layer gives an average 80% eggs in Bangladesh. That is 292 eggs up to 80 weeks. We are lagging behind from up to the mark production. But in control shed, it is a little bit increase. But open house gives a little bit lower due to some disease and environmental and management problems during summer season especially, and winter also, because that's open sheds. Very recent egg prices has gone up due to increase of raw material price. Egg price is now 10.50 taka per piece. 1 taka has increased. Total egg production 2,337.63 crore pieces per year. Egg consumption is 134 eggs per head per year. Government has given permission to import eggs. Already it has been started. We are getting eggs from India as a taste basis, because a few 1 month ago, eggs price was 15 taka per piece. That's why government gave permission to get eggs from India. India's price is still lower due to the lower cost of raw materials. In Bangladesh, 90% raw materials are being imported. Only rice polishing are available, and de-oil rice bran are available, or others ingredients are being imported. So it's not so easy to reduce the cost of production in Bangladesh. So we should know how to use advanced technology and others parameters to get optimum and highest egg production. Otherwise, we will not be viable in this industry. So professionals are trying to provide their expertises to get highest production, addressing every problems of birds facing a lot, especially in summer season. Formulating ration for different ages of poultry for more potentiality of layer. Minimum requirements of energy. We should know what is the minimum requirement energy. Just for Highland brown, 2,750 to 2,800 kilocalorie, and the protein 16 to 17, and minerals, vitamins, and other essential nutrients very widely for poultry on different ages. So layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, four stages of feed formulations are very important to get appropriate nutrient which will be provided to birds. Chicks in the brooder needs higher level of protein. So during starting of day of chicks in the brooder shed, we need to provide highest level of proteins. If it less, so we have to monitor it again and again with highest protein. because younger birds are growing faster and have a greater needs of muscle building protein. That's why protein need to be addressed seriously. Otherwise, it will not be grown up for a good pullet. Mineral requirements for laying hens are much higher than for non-laying birds. So birds are giving me highest eggs. I need to know whether the minerals are okay or any deficiency. I have to address it. I have to give it separately. So eggshell quality and which make up 10% of egg are almost pure calcium carbonate. We need to address it, calcium carbonate absorption and the utilization to give a good quality eggshell that will give me more price. Otherwise, even though I can get eggs, that will not give me accurate or right price of my produces. Preventing diseases and vaccination program. Prevention is better than cure. It's proven. So biosecurity measures and vaccines are administered routinely to prevent diseases. We cannot avoid any sort of measures for maintaining a proper biosecurity, and the vaccination schedule is strictly followed. It is vital issues for getting up to the mark production. More major areas need to be addressed, such as nutritional deficiency diseases. There might be some diseases. We should know whether it is happening due to nutritional deficiencies and what type of nutritional deficiency that need to be addressed. And non-nutritional diseases like bacterial and viral diseases, mainly bronchitis, because bronchitis will give less production, and the common respiratory disease, mycoplasmosis, will give us less production. And fowl pox in Bangladesh, it's also prevailing to provide less production. Newcastle disease, bird flu, high pathogenic avian influenza, and low pathogenic, even though low pathogenic is being addressed effectively by vaccination, but sometimes high pathogenic avian influenza might happen. So 3 vaccination against this bird flu, which definitely give us less egg production as well as poor quality egg production. Even though Newcastle disease are being addressed vaccination properly, but bird flu is also issue to get less production from the layers. So it needs to be administered properly. And this is the area in the graph. We can have a look at it, that after 18 weeks, up to 40 weeks, it will onset of egg production time. If it is delayed 20 weeks or 22 weeks, but it will increasing eggs production, and there will be peak production like 95% peak production, but that will be straight line. But if it is sudden drop, so that will never give me a potential production. So these area are very critical area to get benefits from layers. And after 40 weeks, birds are prone to fatty liver hemorrhagic syndrome. So this area I need to check again and again. Liver checking is very important. Intestinal gut area checking is very important. It should be monitored. It should be, if I find any problem, it should be addressed properly with functional feed additives like bile acids and proper amount of methionine and the vitamin E, vitamin C, like this, to avoid oxidation in the liver and oxidation in the intestinal gut area. So these are very vital period up to 40. After 40, if birds prone to fatty liver, that need to be addressed with a treatment dose of these items with this lipotropic factor. So it's very important to protect a liver to get proper nutrition for getting highest production. Getting profitable feed conversion. I have already mentioned that feed plays vital role to get up to the mark nutrient to produce eggs. So the main purpose is in poultry to convert feed into human food like egg, to do it as efficiently as possible. I should know how it will be efficiently used, why I'm not getting a proper amount of eggs, why this problem is happening. So intestinal gut area and liver need to be checked again and again. So incorporation of functional feed additives, if needed, enzymatic function need to be addressed, because if liver is face a lot of problems, so enzymatic function will be reduced. So birds will never get proper nutrition, never provide us up to the mark production. In addition, we should know what are the functional feed additives to address these areas, liver and intestinal gut health, which create immunity, because healthy intestinal gut area and healthy liver will give us 80% immunity. So to get 80% immunity, to save birds from stresses and diseases, always we should test it and monitor it, and need to be addressed properly with functional feed additives like lipotropic factor, including bile acids. Enhancing immunity. Natural immunity are very important. So we should know how to get enhance birds' immunity. A chick hatches with a certain amount of innate immunity. It is getting some immunity from its mother. So it's from its progeny, and requires new immunities. It needs to boost it up as it grows. Birds are growing, so it needs more immunity, but may need our help to develop additional immunity against diseases in the environment. So mycotoxins, exotoxins, and endotoxin get lower immunity. All the times birds are prone to these toxins coming from feed. So mycotoxin are being addressed by toxin binder, but exo and endo, it's happening in the body. It's happening in the intestine. So it needs to be addressed. Otherwise, this toxin will get extra burden on the liver, and it will reduce liver function. Ultimately, birds will get a less amount of nutrient to give us highest potentiality. If it is not addressed, we will never get proper benefit and high benefit from layers. In a nutshell, good immunity, good nutrition, and proper management, I mean advanced management, and always checking and monitoring all the parameters for better liver and gut health enhancing items for better performance of the layer for its full potentiality. If we don't get full potentiality, we will never get our farms profitable. So immunity will be addressed in two ways: active immunity and the passive immunity. Birds naturally, when attacked by bacteria or virus, some immunity will be produced. Even though birds are being treated, it will face a lot of stress, but immunity will be produced. That is natural. Artificially, immunity is being produced by vaccination. And when birds exposed to bacteria and viruses, even though it is not attacked towards diseases, producing diseases, but immunity will be produced. So these immunity stimulation to form antibodies that cause future immunity. Future immunity are very important for us. So in conclusion, I would like to draw all of audience address that day-old chicks' health by checking breeder farms stocks history, need to be addressed first. Second, standard weight gain for getting ready to lay pullet is a must. Then feeding schedule and nutrition. How many times I'm providing feeds and how much amount it is absorbed. So that's very important. Proper lighting hours, already mentioned, 16 hours standard. So lighting intensity and hours are needed. Biosecurity and vaccination need to be followed again and again. And healthy liver and gut intestinal area to avoid stresses are very important towards getting more immunity to save birds from other diseases and stresses. And then we will get more and highest potentiality of layers towards getting a viable layer farms for which we are trying our level best to provide expertises to get it benefited. Thanks for watching and listening me. Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Actor, for your wonderful sharing. And I think Mr. Actor gave us a very advanced concept that is prevention is better than treatment, right? But you know, some of our audience may just got into our meeting room. So one of the audience asked, "What do you mean prevention is better than treatment?" So, Mr. Actor, could you please explain for our audience this question very, simply again?
Yes, very, very nice questions. It is nowadays modern theory of rearing layers. If we don't know how to address my layer birds intestinal gut area, which is very responsible to provide nutrition by addressing, absorbing, and metabolizing all the nutrients. If it is coming from feeds like anti-nutritional factors and toxins, so liver and intestinal gut will be vulnerable. So that's why I need to check the sanitation of the feed. I need to check whether some functional feed additives is in the feed or the other parameters like whether stress or any disease stress or any vaccination stress or any human or any vehicle which is getting in viruses or bacteria which getting birds vulnerable. So all the measures before getting attacked from any diseases or any non-infectious diseases like liver is being vulnerable. I don't know whether it is coming from a virus or bacteria, or it is simply a deposition of fat in the liver, or it is getting vulnerable from the excess amount of toxification. So before getting attacked any diseases, any detrimental effect in the layer hand, I need to address every measures. Those are biosecurity. That biosecurity actually implies for prevention.
Okay, so thank you very much. So you mean, prevention of diseases in the future should be always put in the first place, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Then I will provide a proper nutrition. I will monitor whether nutrition giving me up to the mark production. And if there is any lacking, that needs to be addressed immediately. Then I can get highest performance from layers and my farm will be profitable. This is the main slogan to all the farmers and to all professionals who are actually involved with these layer farms.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Actor. And the second question is, you mentioned that egg peak production for a short period caused by diseases attack. My question is, what kinds of diseases, such as, for example, such as fatty liver diseases?
Very, very good question. Why? I provided a proper nutrition to day-old chicks, and I got a growing bird, pullet, and ready to pullet, which is ready to lay. And I started onset of egg production, and it's a peak just 98% or 95%. But if there is any sharply drop, if there is any zigzag, it's zigzags. Why? I need to know I am providing a lot of nutrients, why it is not being utilized. So what organ is very responsible for providing all the enzymes and all the nutrient to blood? That is liver. So whether liver has got fatty or liver has got some burden, liver has not providing proper nutrition, what's the problem? So it's the, from your question, I would like to draw all of audience attention that off and on birds will be post-mortem to see the liver condition. This is very important. And to see the intestinal gut area. These two areas are very important. If I want to get a straight line of peak production, otherwise, if there is any short time of peak production, there might be problem. It's from liver, it's from intestinal gut, or it's from diseases. These three things, very important. We should know how to address these three things: liver, intestinal gut area, and the diseases. Otherwise, it will never drop down.
Okay, so if our farmers want to keep a good egg production peak, they have to keep the liver health, right?
Liver health. And I would like to draw your attention that we are actually producing feed to provide our 500,000 layers. When we saw when egg production down from the peak, we found that liver has been facing problem with fatty liver hemorrhagic syndrome. We used a double dose of bile acids for a longer period from the normal dose. Even though for 7 days, 1 kg bile acids, I mean Runion for 7 days, then 500 gram, another 7 days, 14 days, then regular dose. Within a month, it was rectified, then egg production again going up. So what indicates? It indicates I need to know to get my bird's liver healthy. That's why regularly liver should be checked. Liver should be tested. That's the important area for a layer farmers.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you, Mr. Actor. And thank you again for your detailed answers. Yeah. And if our audience continue have questions, you can send emails with your question. Okay.
Okay.
And thank you again, Mr. Actor.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Next, welcome our third guest today from China, Miss Wu Lei. What she's going to share with us today is factors influencing the quality of eggs and nutritional improvement. Now it's your time, Miss Wu. Well, actually, I think you'll need to end your, yeah. Thank you.
Hi everyone, is my voice clear?
Yeah, your voice is very clear. You can start now.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is my pleasure to have a talk here, and my topic will about the factors influencing the laying performance and the egg quality. Let me move this a little upper. Okay, it says something wrong with my PowerPoint. I cannot go to the next slide. I don't know what's wrong with the PowerPoint. Sorry, give me one more moment. Can you see my PowerPoint slide?
Yes, I can see it, but on the first page, right?
Yeah, but I don't know why it's not moving to the next slide. It seems something wrong.
用鼠标点一下那个屏幕，然后再摁下一页是。
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I just stop here. Okay, it's my pleasure to have a talk here talking about the factors influencing the laying performance and egg quality. As we all know, the table egg is the cheapest animal proteins and a complete food which provide a kind of low calories, provide 70 to 80 kcals per egg. It's a high quality of animal proteins, and for humans, because they are high digestibility and will balance the amino acid composition. So we like eggs because they are important source of animal protein, and they are ensuring people's life and health. Based on the statistic, we find that the global egg production continues to grow with 87.6 million tons produced in 2020 and expected to peak around 2030. So how to increase egg production in laying hens? We try to produce more and more eggs because more and more people want to eat eggs. Let's have a look at the hen production system, because hen are the fantastic egg layers with an efficient reductive system to produce our daily eggs. They are majorly divided into two sections, the ovary and the oviduct. Unlike most other females, the female chicken only have one ovary, and the right one will stop working after they hatches, and the left one continues to mature. So in the chicken, we will remember we only have one ovary in the chicken that works during the hatching. So let's have a look how the oocyte developed to an egg. The oocyte can develop into the primordial follicles by recruiting a lot of granular cells, and then with the yolk precursor will deposit in the follicles to form pre-hierarchical follicles. We can find there are several stages of the pre-hierarchical follicles, such as the small white follicle, and then to the large white follicle, and then go to the small yellow follicles and the large yellow follicles. Here we can find that oocyte, the ovary produces tens of thousands of oocyte, and all these oocyte can go to form follicles, but only a tiny portion of the pre-hierarchical follicles can develop into the hierarchical follicles. Most of them will go to the architecture follicles. And go to the hierarchical follicles, they will follow several stages, and they will getting bigger and bigger. When they are getting large enough, they can be ovulated from the stigma. When the yolk is large enough, the outside membrane will rupture and the yolk will be released to the oviduct. So the hierarchical follicles, the formation will be the key point for the oocyte development. Let's have a detailed look at how the hierarchical ovulatory follicles looks like. This is kind of very well organized. We can find the F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, F6 are well organized. So when the F1 is large enough, it will be released into the oviduct. And when this one was laid, and the F2 will be ready to go to its kind of repeat process. So the whole process, the oocyte development will be completed in the ovary, and when the yolk is ready to ovulate it will be released into the oviduct. The oviduct is a kind of very, very long. In the mature kitchen, it's a kind of 25 to 27 inches. It will release into the infundibulum part of the oviduct, the yolk. Here we can find if the sperm is existed, it will be fertilized. The yolk will be fertilized. We all know that only the fertilized egg is the true egg. That means this kind of egg can be hatched into a chick, correct? And then the other part of the eggs will be formed in the several sections, such as in the mechanism, the albumin, or the egg white will be formatted. It takes around 2 to 3 hours. And in the isthmus, the shell membranes will be formatted. It takes another 2 to 3 hours. And the last part of the eggs, such as the egg shells, will be formulated in the uterus. As we all know, there are a lot of shell glands in the uterus. So we may find that it takes at least 24 hours for an oocyte develop into a true egg that can be laid. So the duration for the whole process will affect the egg production performance. As our topic, the main topic of our presentation today is the egg production performance and the egg quality. So I will mainly focus on the following 4 parts to talk about how to influence the egg production performance and the egg quality. The first one is the egg number. We all know that the egg number can be mainly determined by how many hierarchical follicles that can be ovulated. We know that the ovulated follicles can finally be laid. That's the number of egg laid. So what are the factors affecting the follicles? For example, whether the hierarchical follicles form or not. If they cannot, following the hierarchical follicles, they cannot enter the oviduct, correct? Because only the ordered follicles can enter the oviduct one by one. If we have several big enough follicles, the oviduct cannot accept all the oocytes. If we have so many F1 follicles, so the oviduct will have no ideas which one will go to the oviduct and then which one will be laid, correct? The second one will be whether do we have enough hormones secreted to initiate the ovulation, because this kind of ovulation needs the hormones to initiate. So if we do not have the enough hormone, this kind of follicles cannot go into the infundibulum. The last question will be, how long will it take for the follicle development to the egg laying? Is that correct? The egg laying, correct? As we all know, the time from the follicle development to ovulation will affect the time interval between the egg laying and the ovulation of the next follicle, as well as the length of laying sequences, ultimately affecting the egg laying performances, such as the numbers of eggs laid every day. Let's just think, it takes around 24 hours for an egg to be laid. If we stayed longer in the oviduct, such as 34 hours or 32 hours, that will severely affect the egg numbers that the chicken can lay, correct? So let's have a look at this one. That means the answer, the first which, if the hierarchical follicles cannot form, what will happen? Let's have a look. This is a kind of good, very well organized hierarchical order follicles in the hen breeders. We can find that we can have very big one, F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, F6, and the F1 will be ready to go to the oviduct. Let's switch to the right panel. We can find the broiler breeding hens. They were fed with high amount of nutrients. Those this kind of follicles are overdeveloped. It seems so many F1 status, so many F1 hierarchy, so many F1 follicles. So the oviduct cannot accept all of them. So it's hard. The egg numbers will be dropped very much in the broiler breeders. So in the broiler breeders, we must restrict the nutrients levels to kind of prevent this kind of follicle overdevelopment. That will help us to improve the broiler breeding, hence the egg production. Except the egg numbers, we also found that we will talk about the egg qualities as we we all want to buy high quality of eggs. As we all know, the eggs can be mainly divided into egg yolk, albumin, or egg white, and egg shell. These are the three major components of the three major structures of the egg. Let's have a look. What is egg yolk? The egg yolk can be divided into, they contain several nutrients. Egg yolk is very well sources of macronutrients such as the 50% of water and 70% of protein and 33% of lipids. The major lipids in the egg yolk is triglyceride and phospholipids and cholesterol. And the egg yolk is also a good source for the minerals and the fat-soluble vitamins, even the xanthophylls, this kind of micronutrients. For the minerals, we can find a large number of iron, phosphorus, calcium, iodine, magnesium, copper, and zinc inside the egg yolk. For the other nutrients, such as the xanthophylls, we all know xanthophylls are kind of carotenoids. They are mainly yellow pigment, so that's why the egg yolk is always yellow color. And the major xanthophylls in the egg yolk is lutein. As we all know, the lutein is very important for our eye health. So we find that the egg yolk is composed by a lot of lipids. So where they come from? So it depends on the synthesis. And we can divide the sources of yolk substances into two types. One is the oocyte synthesis itself. We call it endogenous yolk synthesis. The other one is the synthesized outside the oocyte. We call it exogenous yolk. Most of the yolk precursors were synthesized outside the oocyte. And there are two major types of yolk precursors. We call it very low density lipoprotein Y and vitilinogen, VTG. They are both synthesized in the liver and then transported and deposited back into the oocyte. How do they transport? We know that it is synthesized in the liver. How can they transport it back to the yolk? It takes several steps. Look at the very simple scheme. Those first, the yolk was the VLDLY and the VTG, the yolk precursors, were synthesized in the liver, and then it transports through the blood circulation, and then transitioned to the cecal layer by combined with the pelican, this kind of transporter. The second step is the yolk precursors will passage through the base membrane, the BAM layer, the base membrane layer of the yolk, and with interaction with the GGBM1. The third step is when they passage through the base membrane, it will pass through the granular cells and the zona pellucidea, try to reach the surface of the oocyte, try to reach the surface of the yolk, correct? And then when they reach the surface of the yolk, the yolk precursors will bind with the LR8, the receptor, try to deposit in the oocyte. This is how the yolk precursors are synthesized in the liver and then deposit in the yolk. It's a whole process. As we all know, when the when the hens ready to lay eggs, the estrogen will be secreted by the ovary. Estrogen will be released by the ovary, and the ovary, the E2 will bind to its receptors, ER alpha and beta in the liver. Here, with this kind of binding, the hormone binding to its receptors, it will stimulate the production of a very high energy efficient lipoprotein. We call it very low density lipoprotein Y. And this kind of very low density lipoprotein Y will combine with ApoB and then to form. And then this kind of combination will be resistant to the lipoprotein lipase. So it will not be deposited back to the other tissues, the peripheral tissues such as adipose tissue or even in the other muscles. It will go directly to the oocyte and try to deposit to the VLDO. The VLDOI will be deposited back to the follicles. It's a kind of liver ovary axis. This helps the yolk precursors synthesized in the liver and deposit in the oocyte. The oocyte will have some hormone secretion to promote this kind of so-called try to have as much as lipid can deposit, or as much as yolk precursors can deposit in the oocyte to promote the oocyte development. Then we will have more legs. So if this kind of cycle was disrupted, just let's say if this assembling has some problem, the ApoVLDL cannot form with ApoB. So if this kind of assembling or transportation made some problems, the extra amount of lipid will be deposited in the liver or in the abdominal fat. This will cause a kind of fatty liver disease. The fatty liver disease is kind of a very high prevalence in the laying hen product industry, cause a high level of mortality. So we try to figure out how to prevent this kind of things happen, because we want more fat go to the ovary to deposit in the yolk, not stay in the liver, cause fatty liver disease, or not to go to the abdominal fat and this kind of energy waste, correct? And there are several factors, there are several indexes can evaluate the yolk quality. So the first one is the yolk color. We can see it's kind of all these indexes. The yolk color can be mainly come from the levels of carotenoids or the concentrations of carotenoids inside the yolk. There are several factors that influence the yolk color, such as the feeding conditions. Do you feed enough of, do you have carotenoid supplementation, or do you have some other things that add to the diets, which may affect the yolk color? The genetic factors, the age, or the environment both have impacts on the yolk color. The second one is the yolk quality is the blood spot. The blood spot mainly caused by the bleeding of follicles before and during the ovulation. This will cause a blood spot, just like something like this. This will also affect the egg yolk quality. The third one we call the egg yolk index is a kind of ratio of egg yolk height to egg yolk diameter. It reflects the freshness of the egg. It's a kind of, let's say, if the best level will be larger than 0.4, the second level will be larger than 0.36. The third level will less than 0.35. It's a kind of the height divided by the diameter. We want a high and a smaller, just a round ball, that will be better. So except the egg yolk, and let's have a look at the fertilization. We know that most eggs will be the table eggs, and some eggs will be go to hatch to make a chick. So only the fertilized egg can be hatched. And except the egg yolk, we have the albumin, the big components of the egg, and it's a kind of major protein source of the egg. The albumin can be divided into the thick albumin, is a kind of 60%, and then to thin albumins. So we can divide the egg white into the thick albumin and the thin albumin. The other one is a chalaza albumin, something like that. So we know that the albumin, just like introduced before, the albumin was majorly secreted, synthesized or formed in the megnum, in the oviduct. Let's have a detailed look at the structures of the megnum. It's a wrinkled structure and has a lot of villi. This can give us ideas that the longer villi or the higher villi, then the higher capacity to secrete the albumin, to secrete the albumin. So how to evaluate the egg albumin quality? There are several indexes. The first one is just called albumin index. It's kind of the ratio of thick albumin to thin albumin, correct? And the fresh egg is a kind of 6.624 or 5 to 5. It's kind of like that. And we can also measure the pH is just by break the egg and mix the whole albumin and then measure the pH by the pH meter. We find that the higher pH, the lower the albumin quality. The other one is the albumin height. We can also measure the albumin height to reflect the albumin quality. The albumin height is the kind of between the age of the yolk. It's kind of the between the age and the yolk and the thick albumin. It's the height difference. The higher the height, the albumin quality will be better. Except the albumin height, for the previous three indexes, there are USDA index, we call it half unit. The symbol is HU. It's a kind of index of egg freshness. And it's kind of equation. This is the equation how to calculate the HU. We can measure the height, the thick albumin height, and then weigh the egg weight, and then to calculate the HU. The higher HU means the viscosity of the albumin is higher and the egg quality is higher. The USDA confirmed that only the double A grade eggs are the HU larger than 72. The 1A grade is a kind of 60 to 70, the HU, and the lower quality such as the B grade egg is kind of HU smaller than 60. So HU is a kind of unit we always use to reflect the egg quality. As we all know, during the storage, because we have the egg and we cannot sell them as soon as possible, so that during storage we always have a problem. We call it albumin thinning. This one we find that albumin protein such as overmucin plays an important role in the albumin thinning. The overmucin, we can divide it into the alpha overmucin and beta overmucin. Its function, the overmucin function, is to maintain the gel properties and the foam stability of the albumin. So if the overmucin, the secretion of overmucin is low, so the foam stability of albumin is low, and it's very easy to get albumin thinning, and the quality will be very low, the albumin. So what is albumin thinning? It's a kind of natural processes that occurs during storage. When the albumin thinning happens, the whole pH of the albumin is increased, and then the egg quality is low. The albumin thinning is kind of thick albumin goes to the, it's kind of thick albumin goes to the thin albumin. There are several causes that can contribute to albumin thinning, such as the heat stress that always happen in the southern part of China or the India, and virus infections such as the H1N1 infection, and the feeding conditions, the less of nutrients, and the environmental problems. All these factors can contribute to the albumin thinning. So albumin thinning is a kind of a obstacle that we always met during the storage of the eggs. We try to prevent albumin thinning. We try to store our eggs as long as possible. It will give us more time to sell our eggs, correct? So except the egg yolk, we have introduced the factors affecting the egg numbers, the follicle development, and affecting the egg yolk, affecting the albumin secretion. The last part is the outside of the egg that we call it egg shell. So let's have a detailed look at the egg shell. The egg shell is let's have a look at it. It can be divided into 4 layers. That's the inner shell membrane, outer shell membrane, the shell, the cortical part, and this the whole shell will be the shell membrane, and the shell and even the cortical part will be formed in the uterus because we have shell gland inside. The major component is the calcium carbonate, and let's have the look at the microstructure of the shell. This is the membrane, and the true shell part can be divided to the palisades and the mammalia. So the palisades, the length or the height of the palisades determine the strengthness of the eggshell. The higher, the stronger. So we want the palisades as high as enough because it will provide the strengthness. The eggshell quality, the eggshell defect rate is a kind of a big problem or big challenges that we met during the total egg production. The eggshell defect rate can be up to 11% of the total egg production. And we have so many problems, such as the pale shelled legs. That means the degree of brown color in the eggshell is determined by the quality of deposit pigment in the cuticle. That means the color is very pale, and the lily eggs or pink colors. The egg appears to be pink to the association between the cuticle and the extra calcium layer. And we also have problems with eggshell defects such as the dirty eggs. That means the eggshell is stained by the feces. And we have blood-stained eggs, usually from the police in early lay. Eggs are contaminated by the smears of blood from a prolapsed colic. So this kind of the younger hens. And we also have problems with the shell-less eggs laid without a shell layer, and the soft shelled eggs and the crackers. All these we have tons of problems with the eggshell defects. In the entire egg production chain of collection, packaging, grading, transportation, selling, the eggshell defect rate can be up to 20%. If we have the eggshell defect rate up to 20%, that will cause a huge economical loss. And we try to figure out how to solve this problem. Let's have a look how to evaluate the eggshell quality. The first one is the eggshell strength. We can measure the maximum pressure that the eggshell can withstand. The normal range is 33.5 kilograms per centimeter square. And the second one is the eggshell thickness. This is trying to measure the average eggshell thickness of the 3 parts of the equatorial line of an egg. The normal range is a kind of 0.3 to 0.4 millimeters. So a tiny changes in the eggshell thickness will cause a huge change in the strengthness. So we want the thickness as thick as enough that will help us to help the eggs to prevent to be broken, correct? And we also have some other index such as the egg shape indexes, such we can calculate by dividing the long axis by the short axis. The normal range is a kind of 1.24 to 1.37. Except the eggshell strengthness or the thickness, the eggshell color also can be, although we have experiments or can measure the nutrients has no difference between the different color of eggs, but the consumers always prefer to buy the dark brown egg that are the dream egg for the consumers. Just like my mom always want to buy the dark brown. She thinks the dark brown means the high quality. Although we know that the quality has no ideas with the eggshell color, but we want dark brown eggshell color. Correct. So as we introduced previously, the eggshell color mainly determined by the pigment. So just like the protopophyrin, the color of the egg will be yellow, red, or brown. If we have biliverdin, the eggshell color will be green or the blue purple. If we have a lot of bilirubin, that will cause the faint yellow color. Correct? And why do we pay attention to the eggshell color? Because for the industries, it's easier for them to do the quality grading and then try to sell their eggs. And they can also use eggshell as an indicator for breeding influencing factors, help them to select the best pair of breedings. And for the consumers, it's easier and it's convenient for the consumers to choose the satisfactory eggs. And we can, for the consumers, they can very easily to decide which egg they will buy. They can just tell from the color, correct? So we want the color, dark brown as the dream color. There are several factors can affect the eggshell color. First, the genetics. Just as we know that the genetics color, eggshell color is largely determined by genetics, but considerable variation in shell color can still be seen within a genetically similar flock. And the second one will be the diseases. Some disease damage the oviduct and affect egg production, such as the infectious bronchitis, has the most influence on changing the shell color. The sunlight, as we all know, I can tell from the sunlight in free range flocks, just like the free range flocks. The pale eggs are more likely to occur than these in closed house. The reason for this could be an overdose of vitamin D3 available to the birds, such as some parasite infections, the infestation of roundworms or capillary worms may cause the pale shells and the pale yolk. The color will be very, very low. And as we all know, due to the intensive farming, the chickens always on the stress condition. So if the egg, this will cause the egg kept longer in the oviduct. Due to this kind of stress, it may cause the grayish white of egg. So we try to figure out how to solve this kind of problem. And the other part will be the nutritional part and or the production rate. The eggshell color can be lighter and lighter in the high producing flocks. So in the high producing chicks, the eggshell color will be lighter. So except the egg yolk and the eggshell, there are other points we may also pay attention is the egg flavor, because the customers cannot tell from the nutrients, they will tell from the color or the taste of the egg. So what are the factors influencing the taste of the egg? So First is the protein composition. If do this egg have high amount of flavor amino acids such as the proline or the yolk? What's the lipid composition? Do they have enough of linoleic acid, other types of lipid sterols, and other substances such as fatty hydrocarbons, aldehydes, ketones, furans, sulfides. All these things can affect the taste of the egg. We can do experiment, try to see what kind of nutrient supplementant can affect the this kind of protein or lipid or substance composition in the egg. All the previous part we're talking about the factors influencing the laying performance and the egg quality. So what are the key problems? Let's just draw a big map. So we find that if the just like the previous professor talked about that, if we try to solve the problems in the laying hens, we may pay a lot of attention on the liver disease, as we introduced liver synthesized yolk precursors, correct? Liver synthesized yolk precursor, it can promote the development of oocyte. It will mainly determine the number of eggs that can be laid. And we also need to pay attention to the intestine, the healthy, as intestine is the part where all the nutrients are absorbed. If the calcium is the major component in the major component of the eggshell. If the calcium and the phosphorus absorption lower in the intestine, it will cause problems with the eggshell, and we will have a high rate of eggshell defect. All the other things, if the calcium, phosphorus metabolic disorder in the bone, and if the damage to the ovaries and the oviduct, because this is the way how the eggs formed, how the albumin secreted, how the shell membranes formed, how the eggshell formed. All this kind of damage to this part will have problems with the egg laying performance and egg quality. So if we want to improve the egg laying performance or improve the egg quality, we may pay attention to all these parts, such as the liver health, oviduct health, bone health, and the gut health. As we, our lab mainly focusing, try to figure out the inflammation, the uterus inflammation and the salpingitis. As we all know, in the pig laying hens, because they lay a lot of eggs, and they were fed with high nutrition. So the uterus inflammation and the salpingitis all can be a common reproductive tract inflammation in laying hens, often occurring during the peak and the late stage of laying. And it may be caused by the poor breeding environment, improper diet ratio, such as a high fat diet, and extensive feeding management can all lead to this kind of uterus inflammation and salpingitis in laying hens. What's the side effects of the uterus inflammation? And we can find it will make the hens difficult to reach the peak stage of laying, and then it will shorten the laying period. All this will cause the egg numbers, the laying performance getting lower, and this will decrease the egg production rate. And what's more, the egg quality, such as the eggshell defect, because the reproductive tract, except the oocyte development, they form the albumin and they form the eggshell. So the egg quality will be getting lower and lower if the uterus inflammation happens. Therefore, we did an experiment and try to find some supplementations can help us to prevent or treat the reproductive tract inflammation. as bile acid, we did a lot of experiments to see if we find that the bile acid can help to anti-inflammation and anti-fatty liver disease. So we try to see if bile acid supplementation can help to prevent the oviduct inflammation and can help to promote the to increase the laying performance in the laying hens. What we did, we choose the chickens, the laying hens in the peak stage, the peak laying stage, and then we divided them into 4 groups: the control group, and the other 3 groups are the diets supplemented with 200 milligram kilogram diet bile acid. The other one is 500 milligram, and the other one is the third one is 800 milligram. And we try to measure how the laying performance changed and how the oviduct inflammation changed. What we found is that we treated the chicks for 4 weeks. So for the first 2 weeks, the laying rate was significantly increased in the 500 milligram group and 800 milligram group. And for the 3rd week and the 4th week, the laying rate was highly increased in the 3 groups. That means the bile acid supplementation will increase the laying rate compared to the control group. And we also find the feed to egg ratio was decreased. That means the chicken eat less and produce more eggs. Let's have a look at the oocyte of the follicle development. This is the left panel is the control group, and this one is the bile acid group. We found that the bile acid can significantly improve the hierarchical order. We can find the F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, F6, and this seems similar, something like that. The bile acid can significantly improve the hierarchical order of the follicles. Let's have a look at the egg quality. The bile acid supplementation, especially in the high group, significantly upregulate the egg weight. Except this, the egg yolk weight, such as the egg yolk weight, was significantly increased after bile acid supplementation. Except the egg yolk weight increased, let's have a look at the albumin quality. The albumin height was significantly increased in the low dose group, and the HU index was significantly increased in the low dose. That means a kind of 200 milligram per kilogram bile acid supplementation can largely increase the quality of egg albumin. Except this, the albumin quality was increased in the thick albumin to the ratio between thick albumin to the thin albumin. That means it's a kind of the 500 milligram supplementation and will increase the ratio between the thick and the thin albumin ratio. Except this, the previous slides just confirm that bile acid supplementation will increase the laying performance. So let's have a look at the other parts of the experiment. We find that the bile acid supplementation can. This is is kind of HE pictures. The histology slides, the histology pictures of the magnum part of the oviduct. We can find that the magnum is kind of wrinkle structure. They have a lot of villi. And we can find the villi in the 200 milligram and the 500 milligram. The villi is much higher than the control group. That means bile acid supplementation can help to promote the villi height in the magnum part. As we all know, the magnum part is the part where the albumin was formed, correct? And except this, the inflammation index such as the TNF-alpha, IL-1 beta, and IL-6, all these other inflammations in the magnum part, we find that the inflammation status was decreased after bile acid supplementation. This means that the BA supplementation ameliorates the oviduct inflammation. Except these, the other studies, and we found the bile acid supplementation will also help to ameliorate the fatty liver disease in the laying hens. As we introduced before, the fatty liver disease is a kind of very severe problem, the key challenge that we made in the laying hen industry, as liver is so important in the nutrients metabolism. So bile acid can help to prevent or treat the fatty liver disease. This will also have an effect on the laying performance. Let's make a summary of today's presentation. We can find that bile acid can increase the number of small yellow follicles and improve the laying rate. Bile acid can also increase the egg yolk and albumin quality. Bile acid can increase the height of the villi and promote the albumin production in the magnum. Bile acid ameliorates the inflammation in the oviduct. And last but not least, bile acid can ameliorate the fatty liver disease in the laying hens. All these benefits can help to promote the laying performance and egg quality in the legs. And bile acid can help the chicks or can help the laying hen to provide or to produce more eggs that we can eat. That's all for my presentation. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wu. Dr. Wu analyzed the egg quality from eggshell, yolk, albumin. Very professional, and I learned a lot today. Now I have a more detailed understanding of eggs from eggshell to yolk and albumin. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Wu. And we got 2 questions. So question 1, yeah, you just compared broilers and layers. I think around page 9 or page 10. Yeah, you said that follicle overgrowth can affect a fertilization of broiler breeders, etc. So how can we inhibit follicle overgrowth? Yeah, this is the question.
That's a very good question. I think we can just adjust the diet ratio, because the broilers, we try to make them grow as fast as possible, correct? We try to have them try to sell them as soon as possible. So we always fed them a high energy diet. This kind of diet was it's kind of high fat and high fat, low protein. This kind of diet will cause a kind of problem. As we know, the fat, when we absorbed and then they get deposited in the oocyte, the precursors come from the liver, correct? The lipid come from the liver, and all these fat will deposit, go to the oocyte. So the overgrowth of the follicles. So we can make adjustment on the diet, try to inhibit this kind of overgrowth.
Okay, so try to adjust the feed nutrition, right?
Yes,
such
the
as
feed nutrition, yeah,
level and the protein level, such as like that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wu. And the second question we got is, you just talked about blood spot of eggs, right? So my farm eggs have this kind of problem. Can you give me some advice how to reduce this blood spot on my eggs? The blood spot.
I think just like I introduced let me show you my slide.
Yeah.
It's kind of the blood spot is kind of if inside the yolk, that's caused of bleeding of follicles before or during the ovulation. This kind of what I can say is we should do is try to lower the stress level, because if the ovulation happens a lot, and this kind of incidents will happen, just like the blood spot. We try to how to say that, make the chicken happy, or do not under a lot of stress, and then the ovulation, the blood spot will the incidence of blood spot will be lower. Actually, I don't have a very good answer for this question, and I will check the reference and answer this question later. Correct?
Okay,
Okay.
I will.
I will send you can send me email, and I will answer this question by asking some other expertise and try to figure out how to solve this problem later. Okay.